I once mentioned before that most of the things that I say, or that's said in Brit-Am, for example, are taken from our great Jewish teachers throughout the ages who, to use a biblical description, are the pillars of the world, Job 9. Our sages of blessed memory have studied and investigated the deep and Exodus 13, the deep and mighty waters. So I have friends that they would like to take a scissor and cut out the Noahide, Noah's section of the Torah. They're so upset with it. And then I have other friends who want to ignore and minimize the return of the tribes. So I want to talk about to both groups. And I'm not talking about people who hate religion or hate Judaism or hate the nation of Israel. These people I'm talking about are basically pro-Israel, pro-Torah, pro-God, but they have this hang-up. They would like to take scissors and just delete the whole thing about Noah, because it bothers them that there's this universal religion that's available to everyone, and the fact is, at the end of time, the world will get its act together, and those people who don't want to join the good ship lollipop of the Hebrew nation, they have a perfectly functional ship. So they don't like to hear that because they want to do all the commandments. Are they doing all the commandments that are relevant to them? No. Are they close to doing a lot of the commandments that you can do in our generations? No. But they theoretically say, no, but we should be pushing all the commandments on everybody. But the overwhelming majority of the world, I hate to tell you, it would be good if they just keep one of those commandments, thou shalt not murder, and there would be a much better world. And I say to myself, what a wonderful world. So I would just want to respond something to them, that you can't just delete. If you don't know about the first covenants, then you're going to be confused on all the other many covenants in the Torah. And my other bunch of friends, they want to shut their eyes every time they come to something about the tribes and the tribal return, and skip over verses and hide under a pillow and under a bed, and they're doing it for their reasons. They feel overwhelmed with this mass of people that might be coming home. The chosen people are going to start coming home. Remember Megamadul? Moses made a census in the Midbar, remember? And they counted 600,000 plus adult males. So that what would that be with youngsters under 20 and people over women and children? Well, we could talk about 2.5 million, 3 million people. Well, there's nothing they can do about this. The fact is, that's God's agenda, that at the end times, he's bringing his people home. So let's figure that out here. Just with a statistic right out of the 5 books of Moses. And remember, why do we have noses? To keep them in the 5 books of Moses, right? So Moses said you'll be 1,000 times greater than you are. So just take that one official statistic, 600,000, 1,000 times that is 600 million. So our sages, our tradition, our biblical explanations tell us that the final redemption, the final incoming and the gathering of the exiles will be so fantastic, so amazing, so out of sight, so mind-blowing, and so many that we will look at the Exodus from Egypt as small change. We won't say, wow, we had that Exodus from Egypt. We'll be talking about, wow, we just had this amazing ingathering. So whatever you want to hide and ignore, the one of the main themes of the entire Torah and the over 23,000 verses of the Hebrew Bible, you're on a sinking boat, my friend, because God's luxury liner, his aircraft carrier, his super duper submarine, the $10 billion one I'm referring to, it's sailing on into destiny, and it's going to have on board the returning tribers. So I know a lot of us Jews, we're so afraid of things because we're so overwhelmed by the hatred in the world and by assimilation and acculturation. And so they say, oh my God, all these strange people will be joining us and they'll blot out our identity and they'll cloud over with their customs, with their weirdness, with their ignorance. Yeah, but what you're forgetting, my dear friends, is this is God's agenda that tribes are coming back. So when the tribes join Judah, it's not going to destroy Judah. It's going to magnify Judah. It's going to make Judah more glorious and more successful and more of a sincere fearer of God and lover of God. Okay? You're forgetting the big picture. The big picture, this is God's agenda. So if you stand against the return of the tribes and minimize it and constantly minimize it, you are standing directly against God. And God is good. You have to have a little faith, a little emunah. He's going to bring back the tribes, the lost Judah in captivity, righteous Gentiles, and our 10 beloved tribes. He's going to bring them back. It's not going to destroy Judah. It's going to improve and enhance Judah. So that's what I want to talk about this for a minute or two. The first covenant, which encompasses all of humanity, is the one made with the first conservationist, the first zoologist, Noah. We are all, like it or not, sons and daughters of that covenant, which is the bedrock of all morality and ethics. It is the ultimate common denominator, a status that unites rather than divides. It is a starting point, a place where Judah can trust, respect, and embrace all of humanity. And if you research Noahide thought and Noahide people, what will you find? True friends of Israel, true friends of Judah. You find people who are righteous, like Enoch and Methuselah and Noah and Shem and Eber. You know, Adam was given 6 commandments. You guys might not know about that. And only got another commandment to have the permission to eat animals to that small group of Noah people, the people from Noah, after the flood, when we had a superiority over the animals, like we saved them because of the righteous Noah. So, he had enough animals to fill a small zoo there, right? So we had a permission maybe to sublimate our animal carnivorous killing side of our personality, sublimate it in being able to eat meat. But Adam had a tradition too, and that tradition went on to Noah. And Noah's tradition, guess who it went on to? It went on to you and me. And when it crossed, we learned from Talmud Baba Basra 121 Amid Bet, side B, that Methuselah saw and received knowledge from Adam and passed it on to Shem, son of Noah. Shem thus saw Methuselah. Jacob saw Shem. Amnon, Moses' father, saw Jacob. Ahijah, the Silonite, saw Amnon. Pinchas saw Ahijah. Thus, with just a handful of people, we have the history of humankind passed on in an oral fashion by word of mouth and personal testimony. There were no radio and televisions and internet in those days, no printing presses, and no telegraphs. Travel between communities and nations was slow and burdensome. Info and knowledge was transmitted through the covenantal faith communities with the ongoing student-teacher relationship. We think that only the people mentioned in the Torah were the ones that lived such long lives, and that was necessary to track the stars, to track planetary movement. It was necessary to understand nature and to have that line of communication from our early full human beings to finally when we would reach Sinai. In the Hebrew Bible, it speaks of a future redeemed Israel after the lost tribes will have returned to their worldwide, back to the land from their worldwide exile, back to the land of their forefathers and reconciled and reunited with Judah. The third temple will have been rebuilt and a powerful commonwealth reestablished to rule with justice and love over the entire world in peace. And at such a time, we wouldn't need to be telling you this. It would be unnecessary. All educational outreach will be unnecessary because they should all know me and they shall teach no more each man. Jeremiah, when he speaks of a new covenant, does not use the word new Torah. He doesn't say new Torah, just a new agreement, a new covenant, a new contract. His description is clearly defining a new covenant with its purpose to strengthen the same old beloved Torah. My Torah, the covenant will strengthen God's Torah. This is simple because everyone will be extremely close to God. Will be a victory over the evil inclination. And we have to look at things in context. If you see the context, you'll see that that whole section is talking about completely redeemed Israel, where we're the top of the world. We're living at putting on the Ritz. We're successful, and all the nations stand in awe and respect of us. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but it will. I'm betting on it. I put my money on that horse to come in the future. So what were we talking about? We were talking about the covenant. All of us as Jewish people, you should know, including our secular people, are proud of the story. They're all proud to be descendants of Noah and his family. They're all proud that we had such a universal, open, and magnificent way of viewing all of humanity, that all humanity has all this worth in it, that they all can approach God. And even our seculars who don't know how much they believe in it, but they believe it's a wonderful story. Noah and his family who served and walked with God, Sota, Gemara Sota 14. We descend through the the Jewish people, the Hebrew nation, descend through the line of his son, the great Shem, and his descendants, Isaac and later Jacob, studied Torah in the academy that Shem founded with Eber, Targum Yonas in Genesis 22. From Shem descended the Hebrews and the Jewish people today. The loving Creator God is open to all of his creation. And even though I know my friends say, no, but we can't tell the Gentiles that because they have so many hang-ups about keeping the law, and now they won't keep the law. If you say they don't have to keep it, we're not saying they don't have to keep the law. We're saying God gives them a covenant, an easy way, 7 pillars of light, 7 categories. There's about 31 commandments actually in the Hebrew Bible that are relevant to the Gentile world. But now we have the second topic. The second topic is the fact that there's going to be a return of the tribes, right? And there's many explanations. This is a second group. So the thing is, what regular Gentile wants to keep all these laws that the Jewish people have? They're happy that they are exempted from it. But these people who are identifying themselves as tribes, and they really are tribal people coming back, and they're not aware of it. So this is where Yair Davidiy is a crucial component of the redemption of the Jewish people and the redemption of the Hebrew tribes, and ultimately redemption of the entire globe, all of humanity. Because he's been able to show you, through his magnificent research, what countries and what kind of people have the character traits of our tribal returnees. And they're very obvious, and they're very logical and rational. So when a Gentile from these backgrounds who shares these character traits, we dare not look at him as a regular Gentile. We should look at him as returning Judah, righteous Gentiles, and are returning tribes. And we can't just brush them off. But that's true. It's true. It's part of the Torah that God accepts everybody, and they don't need to be Hebrew to be close to God. All through God is near to all who call upon him, to all who call upon him sincerely. Ki ata Hashem tovu salach l'kol karecha, for you, God, are good and forgiving to anyone, to all that call upon him.